Hello, faithful viewer. We are here watching episode 1 of series 3 of Doctor Who. I am Phil Collinson, the series producer of Doctor Who, and with me is the lovely...
Freema Agyeman.
Hooray! And this actually is slightly historic because this is the very first time Freema has watched her own name coming up the Doctor Who title sequence. And in fact, it's the first time that she's watched this episode of Doctor Who.
So I'll be really quiet throughout because I'll just be watching it.
Yeah, I'll nudge you if you start looking traumatised. Huh? Smith and Jones by Russell T Davies.
Wow.
And here you go. It's kind of, I like this opening. It's kind of funky and very different.
Oh, I've got this music. Because this was the first scene I did in ADR.
Was it?
Yeah, and I've never done
ADR
any
is additional dialogue where which the actors often have to go back into a studio and record lines that were a bit muffled or that had traffic across them or that just aren't clear enough for the transmission copy. And
so that was the first time I'd seen that, and there was no music or anything on it as well, so that's already blown me away.
Well, that's virtually the last thing we do is put the music and all the kind of extra sound and stuff on it. That's virtually the last thing that we do. We did that about 2 weeks ago.
Gosh.
Yeah.
That's really recent considering when we did the rest of it.
Yeah, so long ago. I know the post-production, the picture post-production takes quite a long time, and this one was a particularly difficult one because of all the CGI and all the matte paintings and the CGI building up of the monsters, walking across the moon and all that stuff that we'll see.
Of course.
It was a big one, this episode, as it should be.
Indeed.
1.
Well, this is why I'm going to be just gobsmacked watching the whole thing, because you only ever know what you do, and there's all that, what you just said, that I haven't seen. So to put all the puzzle together, I'm sure it's going to blow me away.
So we were in the middle of Cardiff filming this, weren't we?
Yeah.
Did you get many people bothering you? Because obviously we filmed this slap bang in the middle of the rush hour, didn't we?
There was one paparazzi across the road, and oh, sorry, I just looked at that barge then. How rude. And then there was a couple of people who sort of recognised me, and I heard little whispers.
Yeah.
And then one guy in particular said, "Can I take a picture on my picture phone?" Which he did, and then stayed the whole time with his phone in my face. So that was my first experience of wow. It's like,
you got off lightly then. Yeah. You got off very lightly.
I see.
And here's Anne Reid.
She was great. She offered some invaluable advice to me.
Did she? What was that? Is it broadcastable?
Don't blow it all of it at once was the cleaned up version.
God bless her. Look at her, the old pro sat there. And was this the first day? It wasn't the first scene you did, I know, but was it the first day?
It was it? I would say, yeah.
I think it
probably was still within the first day.
So you were finding your feet. Were you terrified?
I wasn't as terrified as I thought I was going to be the night before. I had a little wobble in my flat, thinking, "Oh gosh, I got a big step tomorrow." But walking onto the set and seeing a lot of people that I saw when I did episode 12 of series 2, you know, it was a real comforting sort of hello and welcome back rather than a hello, who are you, prove yourself sort of thing.
Hooray.
So no one made me feel
that was your first scene.
This is my first scene that I did.
We had fun on the day with the motorcycle carriers because the two guys turned up and we'd been told that they would be the same height. We had to be very specific about who would come and the costumes that they would fit them and all of that. And a guy turned up and he'd said he was 6 foot tall and he was like 5'6" or something.
Don't lie on your CV.
So yeah, don't lie on your CV. So I hauled him out of the leather costume and sent him home. And I think we got the chap who swings the microphone. He ended up standing in Ridian. Yeah. He ended up standing in one of those costumes that day.
You see, there ain't no problem that Phil can't fix.
I don't know about that. A lot of shouting, I know that.
Yeah, none at all. Oh, wow, gosh, it's mad.
So this was your first proper scene with David?
Yeah, but you see, actually then, this scene wasn't my first day, because my first day entailed no David, and I remember that was one of the things that made me feel relaxed. However, in hindsight, now I feel more relaxed when I am doing scenes with him, because he just, you know, exudes confidence and warmth that it makes me feel more relaxed when I'm doing scenes with him. But I thought the first day when I saw he wasn't in, I thought, oh good, I can relax, because I thought I'd be more nervous working with him. But no, it's completely the opposite.
Yeah, he's very. Well, I mean, he's done enough of them now, I suppose, to be so confident. But he sort of is. It must be nice having somebody there who's been there before and he's able
but who also knows what it's like to come into it once it's already up and running.
It's already up and running, of
course.
He's
been invaluable to me.
Lovely Roy Marsden. Do you remember the read-through? Roy Marsden made us laugh so much at the read-through. His performance was like the biggest performance you've ever heard at a read-through. He was just hilarious.
He was. I really liked it big. I mean, he did it brilliantly then, but I liked big.
Oh, it was huge. Goodness me.
Fantastic.
Gugu.
Oh, Gugu, the gorgeous Gugu. She's such a sweetheart.
Yeah, she's been in 3 episodes now, hasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Right across, and all of them spread out, so she feels like she's actually been around for more than she has, really.
That's really interesting.
So this kitchen that we're in now was a set, but we ran out of places to build sets, and we ended up building this kitchen, if you remember, in our kitchen at the studios. It's actually the kitchen downstairs that we use.
Right, now I can see that, but at the time, I was so new and everything was blurry and all in one that there's no way I would have known that.
Really, yeah. Oh, how funny. And of course, with what's about to happen, we had to be very particular about the wall with all the kitchen cupboards on had to be a fake one. So we had to put a fake wall in a real kitchen. It was mad, really.
Gosh.
Because all those cupboards have pistons behind them.
Right,
Remember,
this.
shoving all the stuff out. Kind of
it was
quite
scary.
tricky and scary, all this, even to film, wasn't it? Because literally the whole room's shut.
Yes. Because when I first was told that we're going to have to sort of shake yourself about, I kind of just went, oh, God, I'm going to just have egg all over my face. But but with everything shaking and shuddering and the noise it made, it really wasn't a far leap to just believe it and panic.
Well, given that tins of beans were flying past your nose. And it wasn't really. I mean, I was just as panicked as you. So obviously in the studio, you were looking out of the window at a green screen, but look at that now.
Look, oh my gosh, it's so clever. Look at that.
Hey. You're on the moon.
Oh my gosh.
It is very lovely, that.
And look at that, of course. I never saw anything like this. All the people coming forward.
We only actually had... we shot all of this stuff on in an actual hospital that was disused in just outside Cardiff, and the wide shot that you just saw then is composed of lots of little shots of the same window on the same ward with different people in, and they're all pasted in. It was really complicated to do.
No wonder.
But yeah, this was all. I sort of. It really makes it feel real. All of that stuff. It's very clever, I think.
Yeah.
And then we have, we're now in Swansea, a different exterior hospital. Well, that's not there anymore. This was a shot that we took in Series 1 on our helicopter shoot that we've reused. Well, not reused. We never used it originally.
No way.
And they've just painted out the hospital and put a big hole there. I like that shot. It gives it some scale.
Gosh, that's incredible.
So we're back now in that real hospital, which really it's great actually because it gives it a very authentic feel, isn't it? It doesn't feel like a set because it's not. It really is a hospital, and it has all that sort of hospital finish on the walls and the doors.
Yeah, it's marvellous.
Crikey, they weren't happy with us though. We left it in a bit of a mess.
Well, you can't have X amount of people traipsing through somewhere and find it as it was, I say.
And that's the same window again. It's the redressed ward, but that's the same window that all the patients were just panicking at.
Right.
And obviously the same ward that we saw Florence's and saw the doctor in earlier. It was all one ward that we just kept redressing.
Oh,
the first appearance of David's new suit.
Yeah.
Which we had made for this new series, just to ring the changes a little bit. So you see through the series he staggers it.
Well, I was going to ask actually, because sometimes, because obviously we don't film things in sequential order, so I can't tell how often the blue and the brown are
They're more or less
appearing in.
equal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're more or less equal, and it's nice now. I think the other one was virtually walking out of the trailer on its own by the time we got to the end of series 2. He'd worn it every day. Yeah, it could have gone on for David, I think, and stood in if it needed to.
Oh, look at that!
So
this is all my sort of first green screen stuff, and but. You know, this was all within the first week, so
it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember which exact day, but it was all first week stuff. And...
Yeah, well, it's lovely though. It's very interesting because we all noticed, or we were all pleased that you just seemed to fit together, the two of you. It's nice because obviously the Doctor looks at Martha and he immediately likes her and sees a friend, and I think that it happened on the set as well. I think you both got on so well from the word go, didn't you?
He's great though, but he was. I've always said to him, that the first day he bounded onto set in Army of Ghosts and introduced himself and spoke to absolutely everybody. That's the David that I remembered, and that's the David that you get. Every day on set.
Yeah.
So, and he did say, he went, well, it's just as well that I was the same then, because who'd have known that you'd have ended up being here now, and if you'd have seen a different me, it might not have been great. But,
can you imagine?
Yeah, no.
He probably said no then if we'd asked.
So he's fab, and as I said, I didn't feel nervous because of him and because of all the crew and because nobody gave me any reason to feel it. I just walked from the day I walked onto set. I had nothing but good times and complete encouragement and support every single step of the way. So I had no reason. I started to feel like I should have been nervous. I felt like it was maybe was it part of getting the job, but I wasn't, because it was just I'm having so much fun and everyone's great.
For people who don't know, and if you don't know, you're a fool, but Freema appeared in Series 2 of Doctor Who as a different character. They just talked about her then. Actually, we explain away the startling resemblance between you and Adiola. We just revealed then that she was, in fact, your cousin. Yes. I could sort of believe that, although I do think there was some kind of monkey business going on in your family, really, it has to be said. There was such a startling resemblance.
Well, quite well.
If I were you, I'd be asking your mum. Well.
I think it'd be my dad. He seems to be the dirty stopper. Oh, this was another ADR scene, actually, because obviously there's no spaceship there, so we just looked up and didn't say anything. But
again, that was just a tiny little set, wasn't it? Literally just the veranda, surrounded by green screens, and so for all of these scenes, it was shot from various angles, so we could drop that tiny set into the wider exterior of the hospital. We could paint the moon in across the front of it, etc.
There are just so many parts to the Marvellous Machine.
It's like a huge jigsaw.
It really
sequences
is.
like this are really like a huge jigsaw, because you're moving between sequences that are completely computer generated. That for a long time, even Russell, Julie and I don't have a clue what we're going to get until it kind of comes out of the computer, really. I mean, you talk about it, you talk about what you want to see. You look at kind of block animation with sort of stick figures and things like that. So you get an idea, but it's quite a nerve-wracking moment when we actually see it ourselves for the first time, really, because you really, you don't have so little to do with the whole CGI side of it on a practical level. I mean, it's really interesting, and the first appearance of the Judoon.
That.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it?
Yomping.
Yomping. That was in the script, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love that word, and it's so apt for what they do. They yomp. The Judoon. I got asked what my favourite monster was once, and I was sort of saying, based on what's the most scariest, or anything, just the one that you like the most. And I like the Judoon captain, just because that was the first time I'd seen the sort of animatronics and how lifelike it is and how soft the face was. And then, of course, the guy inside him was adorable. So overall, I really thought the Judoon captain was cute.
Oh.
And especially because they're quite fair, which we'll see later on.
Yeah. Yes. I guess so.
I quite like him.
This story is mad, I think. A blood-sucking alien who who drinks said blood through a bendy straw is the product, I have to say, of a sick mind, Russell T Davies. But I do hope lots of children run around with bendy straws at school. I think that would be really funny.
Well, quite. But I'll tell you what I didn't realise until quite late, but his name's Stoker, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then on the door it just said Mr. B. Stoker. And
Yeah.
is that...
Mr. Bram Stoker?
Yeah, because of the whole vampire thing.
Oh, wow. I've never even noticed that.
No, someone else said that on set, and I was
funny?
Like, oh, my God.
Oh, isn't that funny? I've never noticed that. How observant am I, you see? Nothing gets past me.
Oh.
Mr. B. Stoker, of course.
B. Stoker. Oh, Roy was great. He really... There was a bit coming up where he just kept making me laugh, but he's such a professional that he can hold it down himself, and I'm there just spluttering all over the place.
Apart.
Yeah, I'm learning.
He absolutely loved it. He really loved it.
Oh.
So now we're in a different hospital now for all this foyer stuff. It had a particularly interesting foyer, a big foyer that we could take over. It was actually the library building in the foyer.
And that's a little fake shop, was that?
Yeah, a little fake shop and all that. Most of this is a set because it was a library foyer. But it meant we had to shoot here at night, and obviously we needed it to be empty, and, you know, we couldn't be just doing a sequence like this that was terribly complicated without having complete control of the place.
Yeah.
So we had to go somewhere different. That big shot from above there was so complicated to do. We were meant to shoot all of this in one night, this whole sequence in the foyer, and we got halfway through the night and realised that we weren't going to do, so we had to go back a second night, which was
it's difficult.
Big mistake.
There were so many parts to it, and it's so difficult for the guys inside the costumes, because I mean, one of them they could barely see, and one of them tripped over in that formation sequence, just tripped and went flying over one of the chairs, and it was just difficult to get everything to get, to all fall into place. And
it was very complicated to do because obviously there were a lot of extras in there anyway. But we only had, I think, 6 Judoon costumes, didn't we? And we wanted to make it look like there were scores and scores of them. So that high shot is a locked-off camera shot that we just literally moved the Judoon around in, so that when they... But it was quite a complicated one because they had to come walking in from different ways and go different ways. So when it's all stitched together, it looks like there are dozens and dozens of them, but actually there were only 6. Which made that sequence terribly time-consuming to do. Well, and like you say, not least because they couldn't see where they were going.
Yeah, totally.
They had to be drilled basically by our choreographer and taught how to march blind.
And they were ever so hot, weren't they? They're quite really thick layered.
Of course, this was the height of the summer. This was way back in July, August, wasn't it?
August, that's August. It. I started first week of August. That bit just then, when we were talking, and that leaf was right next to my nose. We had to do that a couple of times because it kept threatening, and it went in my mouth, it went up my nose, it poked near my eye, and each time I just kept laughing. So we eventually got one though. That's good.
we put it there just to test, just to see how far we could push you. Mind the monsters, it's the leaf that gets you every time.
Oh, it's great.
So there's Martha getting her first inkling that he's an alien. It is a great prosthetic, that. It properly really lip syncs. And it was like a horse's mouth, wasn't it? The way it moved. It was very, very funny.
I thought he was really cute. And again, you've got the person inside, you've got the person doing the mechanical movements of the face, and then the voice. It's like the Daleks, isn't it? There's so many people.
So many people who just come along to just look after one monster.
Yeah.
Which, of course, is another reason why, only the Judoon captain takes his helmet off.
Right.
That's because there aren't any other rhino heads in any of the other helmets. We couldn't afford them all.
Wow.
Whoa, there he goes.
Look at that.
Flying tonight. It's quite horrifying, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
It was a bit more horrifying. We altered that shot after we saw it for the first time because you actually saw his crispy skeleton and you actually saw him sort of boil a little bit more, and we thought it was a bit more, it was a bit too horrific. It was a bit too much. So we toned it down. I'm glad we did. It was a bit horrific. Sort of the skin boiled off his face.
Gosh. No, that looked very sufficient.
Yes, indeed. So another part of that same hospital back in Cardiff again now.
Oh, he just learns masses and he can reel it off at
He can't he? Because there's
speed.
something about being able to learn the lines anyway, but being able to learn them so well that you can deliver them at that speed.
Yes, because you can sometimes engage your brain slightly after your mouth's moving and think, I know what the next line's coming, it's fine, it's going to be fine. But if you're going at 1,000,000 miles an hour, you haven't got time to
even think about
it. You've got to know it backwards, and he does.
Do you find yourself in scenes picking up his pace? Is it hard not to? Is it something you consciously have to think about?
I've noticed myself doing it twice throughout the whole time. Twice, because the first time I did it, I thought, that speaking at any sort of pace sounds so like David's Doctor. It's like his thing, one of his many wonderful things. And so I have to, because I speak quite fast naturally, but I don't act that fast. But I do. So I'm trying to.
She's a slow actress. We all said it.
Yes. This bit, oh my God, when I slammed the door behind me, the door jammed and all the crew got stuck in there.
They did, didn't they?
Yep. Which was quite funny. And then the bit where I ran up to the doctor just then to say, oh God, they're in there. I missed my mark. It had to be very specific, and I had to hit the mark to make sure Dave was still in shot and everything. And I got quite scared. Like, I can get quite scared when I'm being pursued.
Well, that was scary. I mean, we were this is in a different building now. This is a deserted factory in a different part of Cardiff now, and we went there because of the length of the corridors, and there was somebody on a rickshaw in front of you, wasn't there, being dragged along. I mean, I was scared when we were filming this, and we really wanted to get that chase fast and furious.
I do. There's something about being chased and then looking over your shoulder and they're that close that just makes my heart go.
Yeah. And he's so close. I love it. It's really, I think it's a great, it's a really well directed chase sequence. It's one of the best ones we've done.
Oh, wow. And that was a completely different corridor, different
room. Different room, different somewhere else. Different. We're back for the interiors here. We're back in Cardiff in that same hospital again.
Wow.
Whereas he's bashing the door down somewhere else.
And that was a different guy.
Yeah, it was.
The guy that's bashing to this one is different.
Well, it was a stuntman chasing you, wasn't it? We had to put a stuntman in there to make sure that, if he fell, he didn't hurt himself. Because, again, he couldn't see terribly well through the helmet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're really, as a character now, really starting to be drawn in. And I love the fact that she doesn't even... It never strikes her for a second to be kind of foxed by him. She really goes along with it all, and she's right in there from the word go, and just taking it all in and believing it all,
totally.
And accepting it all.
Do you know, it's moments like that when I get asked in interviews, are you like Martha? And I just think, not a lot, because if someone was coming up to me doing all that, I'd question it.
You'd be out the back door. No, I love that. She's brilliant. She just goes along with everything. I like that.
Oh.
So that was a different guy in the suit, wasn't it?
That's right. Yeah.
Lots of doors flying off in this episode. We were making lots of false doors and taking lots of doors on and off. There was a bit door thing going on. Oh no, marvelous. The sonic screwdriver's gone.
Do you know, the first time I had to do some sonic acting, the doctor throws the sonic to Martha, and I dropped it, but I think it was probably only the rehearsal one. Because a little bit fell off. I think it was only... And, there's
Oh,
loads.
yeah. That was you. Oh, yeah, you were to blame.
But I got so scared. Not scared, but a little bit nervous. This is my sonic moment. And went all fingers and thumbs. It's
a tiny
special
little prop, isn't it?
Yeah, but it holds so much weight, doesn't it?
It's just an iconic part of the series.
Definitely.
Again, we're back in the Cardiff hospital again. It was such a jigsaw filming this episode.
Looking at it
so
like
many
this,
different locations. You forget, don't you? Really?
Yeah.
All the little props that they've got to have, like that hand prop that the Judoon captain has there, the scanner, all have to be made from scratch. It's quite, it's such a cost-intensive show, this, and a prop-intensive show.
Yeah.
We have armies of props makers and people who stand by on the set and look after the props and make sure they're not damaged. And and if they do get damaged, they've got to kind of fix them on the spot. It's this scene.
Yeah.
The episode ran under. And when we finally edited it together. So this scene was an extra scene that Russell wrote to fill the time in. And I love this little scene, and it dovetails so brilliantly because we didn't have any of that. All we had is the shot that we're about to see, where you step out in front of the Judoon. And so Russell had to come up with a scene that would fit in kind of story-wise, but would also fit in visually with what we'd already shot. It was,
which was
a real achievement, I think.
Yeah.
So literally, when you were behind that water cooler, you were in one bit of Cardiff, and now for this, you're in a different bit of Swansea. It's very funny.
And so much time had passed actually that that my hair is quite a bit longer, but it's also quick.
Yeah. There was a brilliant faux pas we made as well there. That shot you see of David just locking the door then was another bit that we had to pick up because in Russell wrote that little bit as well as you were chased by the slab into that room. And David used the sonic to lock the door, and all of us missed it. And Edward Russell, who's our brand manager, watched it for the first time, and we got this email saying he uses the sonic to lock the door, but in the previous scene, the sonic's just been blown up in the next room, and we all just went, "Oh my God,
goodness!
How did we miss that?"
Wow!
You can imagine we all felt quite stupid then. So that does look like a very odd and superfluous shot of a door being closed, and that's because it is. Because we had to do something to fill that little gap.
That's so funny.
It's great makeup on Roy, though. He really looks dead.
Yeah.
Lordy. Oh, I like this moment. I think the Doctor does too. This is when he sees her humanity properly for the first time.
Oh.
She'll do, he's saying there, I think. We had to reshoot that sign as well because the MRI was a bit wonky.
Oh, no.
Not the art department's finest it has to be said.
Stop it. This.
Here we go.
Yeah. When they're charging down the corridor, then my heart was really going.
Big old smacker. Hooray. What's it really like to kiss David Tennant? Go on.
Marvellous.
Marvellous. Hooray. It's a right thing to say, I'm sure. I love how you just look slightly taken aback there. It's like,
do you know I'm going to be the envy of how many people after that scene?
I know. So here we are now. This was a set that was built in that same hospital in Cardiff again. This is the same room as the wards were in, the same room as the X-ray room was. This is how we have to recycle sort of rooms and sets and areas just in order to save money. So this was 4 different sets in that one building.
So resourceful. I love it. And I love the set. What set designers would you say and set builders? Yeah. They're just so clever. I mean, on the other episodes as well, you can walk onto a set and I'm completely blown away by the detail.
I imagine it's not hard to act on them because they're so authentic, aren't they? Often?
Really and truly. It's just amazing.
Because of course, and especially in this show as well, where all that equipment and all the screens that are going, all of that, it all has to be brought in, and people have to operate it, and the graphics all have to be designed and loaded up onto the computers so that they play in properly, and it really is tremendously labour intensive, really, all that process, because you're going to places and kind of creating a new world, really.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
So all the lightning in the middle of the MRI scanner there is CGI.
Oh, see, I wasn't around for all this bit.
No,
so
you weren't around for all of this bit. So, this is her sort of evil plan now. She's just explaining it to him. They're doing a great job at being thick. Yeah,
that's
great. It's reflected in her eyes. It's the lightning. It is mad, a sort of baddie of the week in a Wincy at night. I love it. It's so kitsch. And of course, Anne Reid, brilliant. And we were
a good baddie.
So thrilled to work with her again. Russell had worked with her on. She'd been in his episode of Linda Green, an episode he wrote a few years ago. And I'd worked with her on Peak Practice, so it was really nice to see her again. She's such a lovely lady. And, of course, in the interim, her career's gone mad. She was obviously Oscar-nominated and went over there for the ceremony last year and How exciting. But he's completely unfazed by all of that.
Yeah,
She's just exactly the same. She's a lovely lady.
approachable and down to earth and really warm.
And been an actress for so long as well. She was in Coronation Street, I think, when it started, when it first started. She's Ken Barlow's first wife.
Oh my gosh!
As a young lady.
Oh, she's lovely.
Electrocuted by a hairdryer.
That
was her story. Yeah. What a death. Whoa, out comes the bendy straw again. Watching the rushes as they filmed all of this was so funny because they just corpsed each other the whole time. And there's a shot that comes up in a second where she's got the straw to David's neck and she's drinking the blood. Well, I think it was like 15, 20 takes.
Serious?
It really was. And you can actually, when you see the take, you'll see it in a second when we cut back to it.
Okay.
She's barely hanging on.
Stop it.
She really is barely hanging on. It's very, very funny.
Oh.
Was that a real marker pen? Did it stay
That was a
on?
real marker pen, and the poor guy, because obviously he can't see, so he was being instructed on where to mark. Because it was all filmed as one. It wasn't cut.
So he had to mark.
So the mark was going off. It was probably the cross wasn't being crossed, and then it was quite permanent. So we couldn't get it off quickly enough between each take. So it was like run to the bathroom and scrub to get it off. But he got it. He got there in the end.
Should sore hands by the end.
Yeah, red raw.
Mm-hmm. There were lots of people walking around Cardiff with crosses on them.
Yeah,
lots of our extras.
Red lips.
The eyes flick and everything. It's such a beautiful costume.
Yeah, I definitely think that's one of my
It really is. It's one of the best ones we've had. And
as I said, I don't think it's the scariest. There's a couple of real creepy, scary ones coming out.
But,
but
there are, aren't there? But it is. I know what you mean about it, though. It's kind of magnificent, isn't it, in some way?
Yeah.
And it was so big. The guys were all over 6 feet, and then of course they had built up shoulder pieces, so the head sat on top of their own head, sort of sat above their head, didn't it, on a sort of frame?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. They were difficult to realise, I think, but really worth it. They look wonderful.
Yeah.
I think.
And a lot of the boys get reused, don't they? As
Because of course it's such a skill. It
is.
I mean, just being able to stay in one of those costumes for the kind of length of time you need to do, because
and not
obviously
complain.
it's time consuming if you've got to suddenly start taking it off because someone's hot or feeling claustrophobic or or just it's a really disciplined job, and I think all the guys that we have on this are just brilliant. They're lovely, and we don't talk about them enough. They're a really dedicated band of guys who come back time and again and play the monsters, and I'm so grateful to them because they do that whole. They do have such discipline, and they work so hard at getting the movement right and really making each monster feel very different.
Yeah. Yeah, very good point. Because, the Cybermen to the... Oh, well, I don't know.
To the Ood, to this. Yeah, I mean, it's all the same kind of guys.
Massive physicality.
And ladies occasionally, sometimes. So this whole sequence is actually getting quite complicated now because you've got the whole magnetic resonance machine that's going mad,
off,
but also you've got all these people who are running out of oxygen, and you've now got Martha saving the doctor's life and giving him her kind of last breath as she fights to save him. And we had to pick up another couple of shots after we'd finished of sort of MRI signs and magnetic overload, signs on the computer and some of the signs of the oxygen running out, just so that we were really... Oh, and a couple of shots of you giving him your last breath, because I think we missed that the first time around, hadn't we? Just so that the story was really clearly told that, they're all about to die, whether the hospital blows up from that machine or whether they run out of oxygen. And actually Martha's going to die anyway because she's giving him her last breath, which is so iconic and brilliant for a brand new companion. I think that, for her to save his life, I mean, what a start.
Aww.
What a start. There you go.
Yay.
You've given him your last breath.
Oh.
So and it's hard, I guess, for you because there was none of this in the room. It was just a
No.
flashing light, isn't it? And you've got to imagine so much on this job, haven't you?
You do, but it's not that difficult to a lot of the time because the feeling is there and the script is there and everybody else's energy is there. So if everyone else is running down the corridor screaming, you feel like an idiot if you're not doing it because everyone's doing it. So you just get swept up in the moment of whatever the scene is. So yeah, it's really unique environment. I love it.
It's a beautiful music cue here by Murray Gold. I love it. There's a choir singing away, and it's huge. I think this sound. It's a really big sound, and kind of really really helps to mesh in the size of what's really going on, and how the two of you are just saving the world again. The beautiful little moment this as he carries
this bit
through.
When he did the rehearsal, he was doing it with a dummy because obviously I don't weigh nothing, so it was difficult for him after a while. So he did it with a dummy, and he said before we started, he went, "Free, look, I'm going to do it like this." And as he came out of that door, he whacked the dummy's head off the side of the door.
I remember.
I absolutely died laughing. Everyone was like, "Oh my god!" So I was kind of a bit tense, and of course he looks after me well, but it did make me laugh.
But he didn't whack your head.
He didn't whack my head. But he's just so uncomplaining because honestly, that was not easy.
Yeah,
holding a dead weight, if you like.
A good old few times.
A good old few times, yeah.
Yeah. And I do seem to remember he had a bit of a bad back. Or did I imagine that? I do mean before he did it, I promise.
No. He smiles sheepishly. No, it wasn't easy. Although weeks later when he did it again, he carried me. I think there was a time between the two. He coped a lot better, so I think he'd been secretly working out.
I think he did have a bit of a bad back. I seem to remember of all the days for it to be a little bit grumbly. It was that day I seem to remember.
Oh, you
so
see, he's so uncomplaining.
He is so complaining, isn't he? Back outside the Swansea Hotel again.
Gosh.
Saturday morning, I seem to remember this one.
And this was all completely separate. He was doing that on a different day.
He was on a different day in a different place.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love seeing it all together.
And there's the box gone. Mm-hmm. And then, as a result of the underrun again, this next scene was another one that we picked up in our third block, if you remember. We'd built the set for your room, for your flat for episode 6, hadn't we? For the Lazarus experiment we'd built. And so we had that at our fingertips, and we kind of thought, oh, well, Russell, can you put a little bit in her flat? And he sort of did this. Which I love,
though, because it's a moment of downtime.
Well, there's that whole thing, but of course what you won't have heard is that Morgenstern's on the radio talking about the fact that he saved the world and how marvellous. So it's a lovely moment. So we're in Pontypridd, I think, now.
With the family, hanging with the Joneses.
Yeah,
they are superb.
They're great, aren't they? Such fun. We had such fun this night. And there's Agyeman, who appeared as a Sister of Plenitude in episode 1 of series 2 of Doctor Who, one of the evil cat nurses. That was Agyeman, and we loved her, we adored her. And actually, she was the first actress we asked to be Francine, and thank goodness she said yes. It was quite difficult to get her because she was performing at the Royal Court and then went on tour with the Royal Court. So we actually filmed this sequence much later, at the very, very end. I think, in fact, we had started block 3 and then we had to go back to do this family kind of section of the sequence.
That's right, yeah.
Just to fit in with...
it was great to see everyone. And
I love this. I absolutely love this sequence. From the bottom of my heart.
Oh.
And this is Martha's theme that you can hear.
Is it? Oh my God, it's the
I'm
first
going to let you listen to it. And so we use this. We use this quite regularly through. Well, we've only dubbed 2 episodes, but through the first 2 episodes we use it, and I suspect Murray will keep revisiting it.
I remember Murray said when it was the Children in Need concert, he went, "I'm just working on your theme," and that blew my mind. And I have a theme.
It's beautiful. He uses it a lot here. That alleyway is perfect. I love it, and the way the two of you are now acting together, you've really hit your stride, and I just think this sequence is perfect.
Oh,
If we were to go back and reshoot any of it, I just couldn't tell you a second that I would want you to change. I think it's really beautiful, the way the steam's billowing at the
Do you know,
back.
that's really interesting. Do you know why? Little secret I'll let you in on.
Go on.
Is the night we did this, that was the first time I sort of hit a little actor's kind of moment of, oh my God, am I doing it? Is everything okay? Is this all going to be all right? Can I do this sort of thing? So that was the moment as for a second, my confidence was probably at its not lowest, but the lowest it had been since we started.
Was it? Why then? Why on this particular sequence?
Don't know. Maybe it was the emotion of it. Maybe it was just the time in which it came. I don't know. But I had a little actor's wobble.
Well, it absolutely does not show.
I love
think it's
that.
adorable.
You've just made my night.
No, I really
find that
mean
really
it.
interesting.
I think it's just... Well, and maybe that's what comes across as well, because I think there's a real... There's a sort of sense that it's working on so many levels, because she's taking all of this in and believing it. But at the same time, I just believe every minute of this scene. I believe it's what you'd be like. You'd be kind of excited but kind of nervous, and when you take that first look inside. And of course, it's very funny.
Oh, look.
Oh, and the violins are going. Yes. And hooray.
Actually, when we did this scene, it was I'd seen the inside of the TARDIS before I saw the outside. Yeah. And walking onto that inside was like walking onto a stage. It was like, and of course you got all the crew there on one side, and it just felt so grand. It was incredible. Oh. But then I remember seeing the outside of the box and actually remembering having goose pimples. Yeah. Because that outside is so iconic, isn't it? Yeah. That blue box. And I remember standing by it and just thinking it's huge, and it's bigger
than you imagine it's going to be, isn't it?
And
it's a really big pop. It's about 8 feet tall or something. And
you could get about 6 people in there.
Yeah. And we have done. All standing in a dark alley. Yeah. So this was your first scene on the TARDIS set?
Yeah, inside. On the TARDIS set.
It's a very imposing set, isn't it? Because it's terribly big. Was it bigger than you expected?
Yes, it was bigger than I expected. It was, and it was just a feeling I almost can't describe, but will never forget. Just walking onto it.
You felt like you arrived?
Yes.
Quite right too. I love this set.
Yeah.
Well, because both of us have worked on lots of shows that are very set bound, and we've both worked, I think, on lots of different sets. And it doesn't feel like that, does it? It feels like a movie set. Yeah. You know, I mean, even a lot of the sets we build, they just feel like sets, because just by their very nature, they have to be a certain size, and But that is just a magnificent piece of work, I think, the TARDIS set.
And it's so clever as well. It's when you film on it, though, because there's one side that's
missing, and you never feel like
you never feel like that at all.
Here we go. You're off now.
Oh, wow.
So, of course, we add all this shake to the camera afterwards to make it feel much madder than it is. But at the same time, you both have got to do that whole Star Trek acting, haven't you? That whole running around the set. So there goes the TARDIS off into adventure. What did you think of that?
That's so exciting. I was just struggling not to just sit in silence and watch the whole thing. I was spellbound.
I kept trying to drag you back. Don't watch it, Freema.
I can talk now. I'm thoroughly buzzing after that, Phil. I'm so happy.
Well, I'm glad, because you're brilliant in this series, and I think all of us, I'm sure, would want you to be happy, and you deserve to be happy. And I think that's just the most brilliant first episode for a Doctor Who companion.
Oh, wicked.
Hooray.
Thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
hope everyone enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed it too. And I mean, I can't wait for you to watch all the rest of them now.
I
but,
know.
Maybe not quite as nerve-wrackingly as this, Maybe next time we'll let you watch it on your own in a dark room.
Yeah.
You were very brave there. I'm impressed.
Thank you. No, that's
you didn't
really
cover your eyes once.
No, I was just too is it intrigued? Is that the right word? Because you kind of, put a lot in. I likened it to pregnancy the other day. We've been doing it for months, and I haven't seen anything. And you kind of, after you just a while, you just kind of go, right, I want to just see something. So it's more than me being nervous. I'm excited.
Hooray.